Welcome back to Coachology in 20, where we learn coaching concepts in 20 minutes. Now, if you're a new coach or an aspiring coach, get your notebook ready, get your tablet ready, wherever you like to collect notes and tune in to listen and learn a new concept. If you're an experienced coach, I've got some questions for you. Let's use the wisdom in the room. So when I ask your questions, share your thoughts, share your reflections, and give your perspective on how you manage today's topic. If you're tuned in, please say hi. Let me know you're here. Ask your questions. If there's anything that you'd like to ask, this is your opportunity to put it in the comments box. We've got 20 minutes together, so I might not get around to every question, but I'll do my best to engage with you as much as possible. So what are we going to be looking at today? Last week, we looked at, if I remember rightly, we looked at the key attributes of a coach. We're going to extend upon this today, and we're going to look at what we call at Coaching Minds the 4 C's of trust in coaching. How do we build trust with our coachees, our clients, and what's important for us to note down, what's important for us to think about, reflect, and improve on week, session upon session with our clients. And as always, I'm going to open up with a question. So the first question that I have for everybody who's tuned in is, how do you currently build trust with your clients? Do you have any set framework that you follow? Do you have any prep work that you have before you enter a discovery session? Do you have any checklist that you have before you enter your normal sessions? So this is for experienced coaches. How do you currently build rapport with your clients? What tools and strategies might you use? And if you're new to coaching, how do you think about how you might build trust with your clients based on how you build trust with your employees, with those that you work with, your work colleagues? So how do you build trust with a client? How do you build trust with others? That's the thought of today. So we're looking at the 4 C's of coaching. How do we build trust? I'm going to come back to the comments box in just a second. We're going to start off with the first C. The first C is care. So we need to write that down. If we're looking to build trust with our clients, we first of all need to express our element of care. We need to care for our clients' goals. We need to care that they get from where they are to where they want to be. And there's different elements when we look at care. There's shown generosity, there's shown care and want and desire for our clients to succeed. There's also curiosity. Curiosity is key when we're expressing care. Those curious questions to find out more, to show interest, to express interest to our clients. This is a way in which we can demonstrate care to our clients. And the other thing we need to mention when we're looking at care is, as a coach, especially one that's training to be a professional coach, we need to understand that we hold a duty of care towards our clients. What does this mean? It means we need to think about things like confidentiality. We need to express and create a space of psychological safety where our client feels comfortable enough to open up. We need to reassure our clients that everything that they share is strictly confidential, and explain to them when or where we might have to step out of that duty of confidentiality based on our legal obligations, for maybe things like a risk of threat of harm to themselves or others. Or maybe they need to share their session with, as a coach, we meant to share our session as part of educational purposes, to look at our assessment to get our accreditation. Or we might be required to do so by law. Let's say our client is involved in a criminal investigation and the police have asked us to open our files and share our files. We might be required to do so by law. So we have a duty of care that looks at confidentiality, but also looks at conflicts of interest. So if we really care for our clients, we'll also be open to observe and be ready and prepared to observe where a conflict of interest might be in play, where we might be coaching that individual and have another relationship with that individual that interferes with our ability to truly help that client. So for example, coaching a friend, coaching a family member, whilst you care for them as individuals, as a family member, as a friend, as a partner, as a coach, that relationship might interfere with the process, with your coaching interventions, with your coaching sessions, And that's going to not be the best approach. You might not be the best person to coach that friend or family member. We need to understand this. We need to understand we have that duty of care to think and be able to spot and observe these things. The other thing when we look at conflict of interest is not to look and act on self-interests. So we should never, as a coach, be looking to extend our sessions, to make more money from our clients, to exploit our clients for any self-gain. We should come from a place of care where we're actually looking to help them achieve their goals in the shortest time possible for the least price possible, in terms of obviously looking at our turnover and our growth and the profit that we need. That is the first C of trust in coaching, which is care. And there's lots of questions that I put to you towards elements of care. And when you reflect and think upon everything that I've just shared with you, all the questions to think about when we look at shown interest, shown curiosity, and exercising our duty of care, I want you to take a moment and I want you to rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 to how much you care about your clients. Not just how much you feel you care, but how much do you demonstrate that care to your clients? So on a scale of 1 to 10, think about everything that I've just shared with you. Rate yourself on how much you demonstrate care towards your clients. And again, if you've got any questions on anything I shared, I know I've just shared a lot. We've got 20 minutes together today for this concept of the 4 C's of coaching. Put your comments in the comments box below. So see, we've got Donna tuned in. Donna's here. It's brilliant to see you, Donna. Thank you so much for being here. She's saying a 9.5. Brilliant. And we've seen that. We've seen you demonstrate that at Coaching Minds. We know that you care for your clients. So you don't have to share it, but please do note it down on your notes, on your tablet, whatever you're doing to capture notes from today's session. Rosanna's saying 100 out of 10. I love the optimism and the brilliant positivity there. So she cares 100 out of 10 for her clients. And we know we're here, we've got some high scores there, but some of us, when we're new to coaching, we might not be that great at showing that care. We might think we care, we might hold that empathy, we might hold that desire to care, but how we actually do that and how we show and demonstrate that might not be that great. So the other thing to think about, whilst we also care, we need to think about, are we the best person to serve this individual? Is there somebody better that might be able to help? Because at this point, self-interest might come ahead of our element of care. And Rizan, this is not directed at you at all. This is something that sparked that I didn't quite mention on this first C, is our self-interest, our want to help, our desire to want to serve this person in front of us and to help them achieve their goals might actually not be the right thing for them. So we need to step beyond our ego. We need to start to ask ourselves, from a place of care, am I the right person to serve this coach? We're going to go talk about competency, which is another C, in just a moment. Donna is saying, depending on my state, sometimes I think I could do more or reflect upon. Yep, there's a lot of opportunity to reflect and to think how we can improve. We can always improve our element of care. And if we're honest and we reflect with ourselves, another good reflective question to ask is, do I show the same level of care to every client? Be honest when you reflect and you think and you ask yourselves that question. There might be, I think back to my experience, there's been times when I care more about certain goals that I find exciting and really ambitious, rather than small goals where people are just talking and talking and talking. You talk about the same thing session after session. I kind of lose that curiosity. I kind of lose that care. But I've worked to exercise this because we need to give that same level of care to every client. But if we be honest, some clients might be a little bit more trickier, might be a little bit more difficult for us to show that element of care than others. So there's a lot of reflective questions around what we can think about when it comes to care and also our duty of care. The next is credibility. So the second C of trust when building relationships with our clients is credibility. And credibility starts with, do we have the right certifications and accreditations to be able to support that individual in front of us? Remembering, do we know the difference between therapy and coaching? Because we're not a therapist, we're not there to go into the past, we're not there to work with mental health diagnoses. We're there to focus on the future and the present and to help our clients with their goals and the challenges that they're currently facing in the moment right now. So the first thing to ask when we're looking at credibility is, do we have the necessary qualifications? And if not, how do we get these? How do we seek these? The second important point to sort of think about when we look at credibility is how are we showing up for our clients? Does how we show up with our clients reflect on how we show up on social media? I've seen coaches where they're showing up really professional on social media. They might be wearing a shirt and tie like I am today. They might be wearing suits. They might be showing up in some way. But then when they get with their clients, they're wearing a hoodie. They're more relaxed. You need to understand when you're looking at credibility that what you're putting up on social media is how you show up to your sessions. So if a client, it's okay. I'm not saying don't wear a hoodie. Don't wear your smart casual clothes. But if that's how you're showing up on social media, when a client finds you through their discovery calls, when they connect with you, maybe they're interested in your service, they want to contract with you as a coach, they're going to want to see that person that they're seeing on social media, not a different version of it. So we need to think about how we're showing up. Are we showing up to the right level, the right approach for the clients that we're targeting? For example, if we're doing organizational coaching, we're doing business coaching, we need to mirror that coaching or that organization's dress code. We don't want to become too formal if they've got a casual dress code. We don't want to become too casual if they've got a formal dress code. So to think about how we show up when it comes to credibility. And the third and the most important point when it comes to credibility is, are we professional? Are we following up with our actions and our commitments? Are we turning up to the session on time? Are we punctual? How are we showing up in terms of our actual actions? So if we promise the client we're going to check in with them 3 times next week, are you going to follow up on that? Are you checking in with your clients 3 times? If you say that you're going to send them a tool, a model, a framework, make sure that you do follow them. Are you following up with those actions? Are you too busy? Do you have too much? Do you have too many clients that you're letting some of the plates drop? Donna's sharing here, if you feel that passionate about a particular niche, then it is your duty as a coach to invest in your profession through accreditation. And I'm going to come on to that, Donna, because that's really beautiful. That links credibility to competence and making sure that we stay in our area of competence as a coach. So I'm going to bring up and talk about that particular niche in a second, but it's very important. Thank you for sharing that, Donna. So that is credibility. So credibility is the second C of the 4 C's of trust in building a coaching relationship, a good coaching relationship with our clients. We need to think about our qualifications, the extra CPD that we're doing, the extra work we're doing to grow, so we can have that credibility for the clients that we want to serve. We need to think about how we're showing up, that we match our clients' expectations of us, and that we're following up with our actions. Anything that we commit to, we're following up, because that breaks credibility in seconds. If we're promising the client this, promising the client that, we're turning up late, we're going to lose credibility. We're going to lose that connection and that relationship with the client. And again, I want you to be honest before we go on to the next one. I want you to score yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 from everything that I've just shared with you on how you believe you rate yourself with credibility. Questions to ask yourself in terms of reflection here is, do you follow up with your actions? Do you go above and beyond? Do you promise a client that you'll send something by Friday and send it to them on Wednesday or Thursday? Do you exceed their expectations? That'll put you in the higher bracket. Are you showing up the same way you show up on social media with your clients? Do you have the right accreditation, the right credentials that give you credibility to be able to coach your target niche or your audience? So be honest, rate yourself 1 to 10. You don't have to put it in the comments box. You don't have to be open, but please note it down. The third C, which I've mentioned a couple of times now, is competence. Our clients want to know they have a coach that knows what they're doing, that knows how to ask the right questions, that when they introduce a model or tool or framework into that space, they can do it confidently and they know what they're doing. They know how to guide that client through that model, through that tool, through that framework professionally. They want to know and understand. This links credibility straight into that point I mentioned about your accreditation certification. It comes up here. Have you studied? Have you grown? Have you done enough CPD? Are you growing yourself every day, not just as an individual, but as a coach? Are you learning new tools? Are you learning new frameworks? Are you learning new theories? Are you turning up to practical workshops, to practicums? Are you watching coaching? Are you listening to podcasts and things that are related to coaching? How passionate and how involved are you in our profession that you are doing something related to coaching every day? because that's what I do. I do stuff every single day. I'm doing something related to coaching. If I'm not presenting, I'm learning, I'm reading, I'm studying, I'm listening constantly to things that are related to coaching. So I can turn up as my best self and I can demonstrate competence, not just as a coach, but as a teacher here today is kind of my role to everybody here on social media that wants to tune in and that wants to learn coaching for free. So we need to grow. We need to have that passion and that desire to continuously learn every day with regards to coaching. And regardless of our excuses, I work full time, I do this, you can spend 20 minutes, half an hour. Change one of your episodes on Netflix for a podcast on coaching or a video on coaching or to watch your coaching demo or to study something related to coaching or to practice your coaching. There's always a time. It's just whether or not it's a priority. So competence is very important. The final point when we look at competence is making sure we remain, and this goes on to what Donna was sharing here. If you feel passionate about a particular niche, then it's your duty as a coach to invest in your profession through accreditation. But also there's other areas that you might want to educate yourself on. So in terms of competence, we might want to look at mental health first aid. We might want to look at trauma informed. We might want to become neuro affirmed. There's different areas of coaching, different things. We don't know what clients are going to turn up in our discovery session. So we need to educate and grow ourselves outside of just our day-to-day coaching and our models, tools, and frameworks. But equally, as a professional coach, we need to understand when to remain within our competencies. One of the things that we're seeing a lot in the coaching profession, which is very risky and is going to damage and cause a lot of negativity towards and really tarnish the reputation of our profession, is this new trend of trauma-informed coaches that market themselves that they help individuals with trauma. That is not what trauma-informed means. Therapists who are educated at degree level are trained to work with trauma. Coaches, I don't care what accreditation you've got, unless you've got some degree in psychology, you've got years of practice in therapy, we should not be working with trauma. Trauma-informed means we understand trauma, we've learned about it, we've educated ourselves a little bit on it to notice when it is going to affect and impact the coaching session so we cannot continue that. So we know where we can remain in our competencies and where to refer our clients to a therapist or other method of support. Trauma-informed coaches should not be working and trying to heal or cure trauma. It's very misleading and it's very bad for coaches to actually put that out there. It's very unethical to say that you work with that. Unless, as I mentioned, you are a trained therapist previously and you're bringing coaching into your therapy practice. That's the only way in which, as a coach, you can work with trauma. Razan is saying, I see presence and leading by example is also indicators of credibility. 100% Razan. I can't get through everything today in 20 minutes, but yeah, presence and leading by example are very important. Our presence, it also relates to care as well. So if we really care, we'll be more present with our individuals. The more present we are, the more we demonstrate care. Donna Shane, it's important to find your own identity and not mimic others and constantly follow their path and delivery. 100% Donna. Mentors can help in this area as well. Collaboration is key. It's not one of the 4 C's of trust, but there's lots of C's in coaches. You can see coach, client, clarity, curiosity, but none of these, collaboration, but none of these are the 4 C's that we're covering today. It's a highly driven C terminology profession is the coaching profession. So on everything we just shared in terms of competence, I would like to rate yourself again on a scale of 1 to 10. I want you to ask yourself those reflective questions. Do you remain within your areas of competency? Are you practicing and learning and growing every day as a coach? When you talk to your clients and you introduce a specific tool, do you know what you're talking about when you use that tool? Or are you just kind of trying to wing it just to get through it and it becomes a bit sticky and it doesn't actually give the full benefit? Are you asking the right questions? Are you asking open questions? Or are you asking leading questions and closed questions and not showing that level of professionalism and that competency as a coach in terms of the key skills and attributes we've covered in previous sessions? Some effective questions for you to think and to rate yourself. And finally, the last one, I'm not going to go into too much detail on this. It is what it says on the tin, is consistency. Now, it might be great to learn, grow, develop for a week. It might be great to learn, show up and give your credibility for a week, carry out the actions for a coach once or twice. But consistency is probably the most important C of the 4 C's of trust. We need to be consistently showing up. We need to be consistently growing and developing as a coach. We need to be consistently showing care to our coaches, our clients, apologies. It's important that everything we've just talked about, we do this consistently. Consistency is probably the most important C, and it encapsulates everything we've talked about. It's not good enough just to turn up great, professional 1 week, turn up a little bit poor the next week. We need to be consistent in how we show up. So I want you to, again, be honest with yourself here. I want you to rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 with regards to your consistency. How consistent are you as a coach? How consistent are you with your development, with your growth, with the care and the level of care that you share to your clients, to your credibility, to your competence, to your commitments? How consistent are you? Mark yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. And then I've got a few more questions that I want to ask and something else I want to report. And we're going to go a little bit over time today, so apologies for that, but it has been quite engaging. I thought this would be actually over in 10 minutes, if I'm honest with you, the 4 C's of trust, but there's a lot to capture and cover here. But I want you to ask yourself this question. How might you measure the level of trust in the coaching relationship? Because it's great. We can sit here, we can assess ourselves, say, I'm 10 out of 10 for care, 10 out of 10 for competency, 10 out of 10 for credibility, and I'm 10 out of 10 for consistency. I'm a proper professional coach. That is amazing. Maybe for you, but not necessarily for your clients. So how do we understand if our clients feel the same way? How do we measure these 4 C's within our coaching relationship? Reflective question for you, but a few tips and 3 quick strategies I can share with you. So ask this question as a bit of a temperature check in one of your sessions, just to your client. On a scale of 1 to 10, how comfortable would you feel sharing a recent failure or uncertainty with me right now? Now, if a client thinks you're really high in the care level, that you care about them, and you're there and you're supportive, they'll feel free. They'll give you a scale of 10. They'll give you 9 or 10, and they'll feel comfortable to open up about failures or uncertainties. If they don't have that deep level of rapport with you, they don't feel like you care about their goals and their interests, they're less likely to show you or open up and share with you a failure or uncertainty. So a quick temperature check to see the level of care and if you're exercising these 4 C's of trust. The next one is track the percentage of agreed upon actions the coachee actually completes between sessions. Now, if you have an engaged coachee, you have a good level of trust, a good rapport, you will find, let's say for easy maths, you've had 10 actions and they've completed 8 out of 9. If they're engaged in the coaching, if they're completing the actions, if they're making progress towards the goal, and that percentage is high, then you can get that feeling, you can assume that you have a good level of trust with the coachee or the client. However, if you feel, or if they're not completing every week, it's the same topic again and again, they're not completing their actions, they're not moving forward, then are we doing what we should be doing as a coach? Now, granted, it could be down to the individual, but we might also need to reflect and think about ourselves in terms of how do we change that coaching to move them forward. But generally, a coachee or a client that is making progress towards those goals is a good illustration that you have a good level of trust with your client. And finally, how much do you trust that this coaching relationship is helping you move towards your goals? This is a question that you can ask at the end, or something similar. You can paraphrase it, you can reword it to suit your way, your style as a coach. But this is something we can ask at the end of every coaching session with our clients, just to check that we are giving benefit, we are helping, we are building a level of trust in terms of supporting our client. An important point I also want to leave you with, I've also got a few reflective questions for you to take away. I'm going to blast through those very quickly, but I just want to spend a little moment on this because I think this is really important, especially in modern day times. But we must build trust before we enter coaching contracts. There's lots of scams on the internet right now. There's lots of fake coaches. The internet's moved. People are starting to become more aware of what's happening. They're becoming a bit more reluctant to purchase online or to contract coaches. There's a bit of a reluctancy here to really connect with people unless you've built that level of trust. So how do you start to think about the content that you're putting out there, the way in which you show up on your social media or show up to networking events? Trust is built before you enter that first discovery session. So how are you setting up the trust on your website? How are you setting up the trust on your social media? How are you presenting yourself when you're connecting at networking events across the profession or in other industries? Think about how you build the trust, how you demonstrate that care, that credibility, that competency, and that consistency before you even sit down with the client. Very, very important. I just want to leave you with some self-check-in questions. You can stop on the replay, come back. I don't want to go too far over the 20 minutes, but just capture these if you've got time. If not, come back, just freeze, pause the video and write them down. But have I shown an appropriate degree of care with the client? So after every session, these are reflective questions you can ask. So you've had your session with your client, you ask yourself, have I shown an appropriate degree of care with the client? Give yourself a mark out of 1 to 10 again, and then look at how you can improve that and show a deeper level of care in the next coaching session with that client. The next question, have I demonstrated credibility by setting and meeting client expectations? Think about a client that you've just had a session with recently. Are you meeting those client expectations or exceeding them? If you want to go that next level, that extra mile, exceed those expectations for the client. But ask yourself again, how do I become more credible? How do I meet those expectations? How do I exceed those expectations? Next question, have I illustrated competence in what I'm doing? So you might have had a session where you've introduced a tool, a model, reflect on that. Did I do that professionally? Did I get everything I wanted across? Did I guide them to some self-discovery and self-awareness? Or was it a bit sticky? Was I a bit unsure about parts of it? And then how do I go away and learn that model in a deeper level so the next time I use it, I can improve? And finally, am I showing up consistently? Reflective question for you. Am I showing up consistently? And if not, how can I find that consistency? And my last question is, which C, so from everything you scored on 1 to 10, take the lowest one, and which C will you work to improve this week? You can drop it in the comments box, or you can write it down in your notepad, but you need to think about which C you need to improve this week. And if you're looking for more, you can't wait till our next Coachology session. You can scan the QR code on the screen. The one on the top left will take you to our website so you can learn more about coaching minds, what we're doing here, what our mission is in terms of making coaching affordable and accessible across the globe. The QR code that you can see on the screen that I'm going to enlarge for you right now, that will take you to Amazon. If you want our Coaching Essentials book, it will give you more information, more detail. You can learn coaching for the cost of £13 before you invest in extensive programs that cost thousands. And finally, I just want to say a huge thank you to everybody who's tuned in. Thank you to Donna and Razan. You've been very engaging. I've seen there's a few comments that I couldn't bring into this space today, but thank you for that. I really, really appreciate it. I've gone overtime this week, which I ironically didn't think I would, but thank you, everybody. Looking forward to connecting with you next week, where we're going to start to look at how we build onto this and look at rapport builders within coaching. Thank you, everybody. Look forward to speaking to you all very soon. Have a good week ahead and see you next Monday.